The Assembly will hear an address by Her Excellency Xiomara Castro, President of the Republic of Honduras. I request protocol to escort Her Excellency and invite her to address the Assembly.
Señor Presidente,
President of the General Assembly, United Nations Secretary General, distinguished presidents, prime ministers, and dignitaries representing the countries of this great assembly of the United Nations. I speak to you from this rostrum as President of Honduras, as the representative of a people who have resisted oppression, exploitation, and structural violence imposed against us for centuries. Today, I am threatened by the same forces of capital that 15 years ago perpetrated a coup d'etat against President Manuel Zelaya. I called out this new conspiracy in the streets during the huge gatherings of people that took place on the 14th and 15th of September, our country's Independence Day. I'm being threatened because I have brought in structural changes to the economic model, and because I have called out the unfair taxation regime that perpetuates inequalities, that gives to the most powerful and that exploits the poorest. Our sovereignty is the fundamental basis and undeniable principle of international relations. However, in Honduras, they continue to impose colonial practices, interference, economic, media, and political domination against us. Supranational powers and some multinational corporations are the result of corrupt public-private elites that have no other goal than to increase their capital. Globalization has failed in its mission to bring prosperity to people. Its results lay bare the concentration of wealth in the most rich countries and among the elites, whilst at the same time the working class is cast aside and forced to migrate in order to survive. At this assembly, the majority of leaders from Latin America and the Caribbean have called out global capitalism as the main factor responsible for the destruction of natural resources and as the oppressor of the conditions of life of humanity. Accumulation of economic gain prevails above human interest. and the role of international financial bodies with their loans with conditions attached to them and fiscal and financial income are things that only aggravate the situation of poverty and dependency of our countries. Neoliberal privatization policies continue to weaken people's access to services, like services of water and energy, health services, education, work, social security, free trade agreements imposed against our peoples undermine our sovereignty and remove the ability of our producers to compete on an equal footing, causing the cost of living to increase on a daily basis. Peace, justice, freedom, and democracy remain foundational values of our country. Therefore, we cannot accept them being held hostage by the 10 most powerful families in Honduras, who are the ones that have grabbed our main economic resources and that are refusing to accept the changes that I'm bringing in. We need to strengthen our democratic system through popular consultations and through the real, direct and effective participation of our people. The International Model Cities Project, the ZEDE project, that was selling off chunks of our country as a loot, really, for multinational capital, and that was something that was supported by stakeholders in the previous narco regime, has been cancelled definitively by my social democratic government. Today, I wish to express my gratitude to the Supreme Court of Justice for its historic ruling, and also to the National Congress for their support. I have called out the International Centre for Settlement of Investment Disputes, the ICSID, because it is an unfair system of arbitration where private interests prevail above the interests of nation states. Over the last 2 years and 8 months, I have brought in a structural reform to return to a single treasury account for our country, cancelling a scheme of corruption that was built around the setting up of trusts that were used to loot the resources of the state. Thanks to us dismantling the scheme of corruption, I am now able to help boys and girls, children, in all of the schools of Honduras. And now, thanks to that, they receive a school lunch, free of charge school enrolment, and we're also bringing new projects to communities that live in extreme poverty. We are increasing production of grain in the first and second sowing, with more than 1.5 million technological grants being given to producers who now are receiving seeds and fertilizer free of charge. Furthermore, we are providing mortgages for homes and farming credits at the lowest interest rates we've ever seen in the history of Honduras. And we are also setting up rural community banks. We are rescuing the National Electric Energy Company, the Honduran Agricultural Market Institute, and the National Body for Basic Products, the Banasupro. All of these institutions I just mentioned were privatized and were abandoned for the 12 years of the narco-dictatorship. Today, we are benefiting more than 800,000 families who now receive free energy, and we are subsidizing the cost of fuel in order to benefit all of the consumers of Honduras with the lowest prices in Central America. There's a reduction of 10 lempiras for each gallon of fuel sold. Investment in infrastructure is at its highest level in the history of our country. We've recovered the public sector with the historic approval of projects to build 8 hospitals, to repair thousands of schools, 3 national airports, the building of motorways, bridges, intermunicipal paths, multi-sport centres for the whole of the country. And we have also refurbished the 2 largest national stadia. I must also mention the biggest project, and the most ambitious project in the history of Honduras, which is the plan to build a railway between the 2 oceans. It will go from Puerto Castilla on the Atlantic coast to Puerto de Amapala on the Pacific Ocean. Over the last 2 years and 8 months, we have reduced poverty by 12%. And with the plan to deal with crime, confirmed by the Secretary for Security with the cooperation of the armed forces, we're seeing an historic reduction of 15 points in the murder rate, which is the largest reduction that we've seen over the last 20 years. My Zero Deforestation programme for 2030 has achieved historic results in the conservation of protected areas of Honduras's forests and rivers. The use of public funds in the state single account in an honest and patriotic way is being done in order to benefit the people of Honduras. People of the world, I wish to raise my voice to speak out regarding the murder of Juan Lopez, a social leader and politician who constantly called out the exploitative, extractive model. I absolutely condemn this vile murder. I have ordered the use of the full force of law enforcement and the justice system in order to investigate, to identify, capture, and to prosecute the intellectual and material perpetrators of this crime. I extend my solidarity to his family, to his colleagues, and to his friends. I am the pro tempore president of the Community of Latin American and Caribbean States, CELAC. We're 33 different countries there. As President of Honduras, my first action was to call out and condemn the genocide against the Palestinian people. Already, more than 40,000 innocent people have been murdered by bombing, and in response to that, some countries have remained silent. I also must raise my voice and call for an end to this genocide. Lebanon must not become another Gaza Strip. We demand an immediate ceasefire in Lebanon. The Haitian people are calling for our cooperation and solidarity as an organisation of countries in the Latin America and the Caribbean. Haiti is the first motherland to have been freed from colonialism, and it deserves our full attention. And so, in the next few days, I will convene the presidents that make up CELAC to show our commitment to Haiti. This General Assembly, for more than 30 years, with an overwhelming majority, has rejected the inhumane embargo imposed against the people of Cuba. This terrible embargo begun in 1960, and since 1992, this General Assembly has sent out more than 30 resolutions calling for the United States to put an end to this cruel embargo. I also call for an end to the unfair blockade imposed against the kindred peoples of Nicaragua and Venezuela. We also call for Cuba to be removed from the list of terrorist countries. Yesterday, I delivered to the Secretary-General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, the agreement that formalises the UN support to fight against corruption and impunity. I thank this Assembly who approved our request to create this mechanism in order to combat public and private corruption. As Berta Cáceres, our martyr, said, she was a brave woman and a defender of our natural resources and of our indigenous peoples. Let us wake up, humanity. We still have time. May this be the appeal and the motto of our generation. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Honduras.